Good. So I'm very happy to be here. My name is Jonathan. Here at the Fraunhofer FFB in Münster, I'm leading the department for digitalization. And in this talk, I'm going to introduce you how we build Europe's most digital battery factory and give some insights into what we are doing. So let me start with one of the main challenges that we see in battery cell production. When we take a look at the value chain, we can see that the majority of cells are produced in Asia, especially in China. But more than that, also the majority of equipment we need to produce battery cells is also coming from China. Europe tries to catch up with that. There are some very prominent companies that try to speed up with the Asian market, but we can see that some companies, for example, Northvolt, for example, Manz, had difficulties in catching up. And this is based on my experience on overpromising. So there was some stuff that was promised by these companies, which they were not able to fulfill. And this overpromising comes from the fact that in Europe, we don't have that much of deep process understanding and experiences when it comes to battery cell production and creating the equipment we need for battery cell production. And right now, there are different strategies up and running in Europe, how this lack of process experience can be overcome. And in my talk, I'm going to focus on one of the strategies, which lies on an in-depth digitalization of battery cell production. This lies on the fact that Asian production has, compared to Europe, a low level of digitalization and bases on the decades of experiences when it comes to battery cells and their production. By implementing an end-to-end digitalization, we can rapidly build up the process understanding, close the experience gap that we have with Asia, and bring battery cell production on another level. So from the challenge, let's move over to the solution. And as I promised in the beginning, I'm going to give a spotlight on the digital battery factories that we set up in the past and are setting up right now. Before we go into the digital world, I have the physical world on this slide. So in Münster, we built up 3 factories with different capacities, especially the prefab and fab are right now in our focus. So the prefab has been built. We are producing battery cells there, and the fab is a factory where parts of the building are already standing, and we are right now in the core phase of building this factory here in Münster. So this is the physical world, and if we take a look at the digital world, so I promise we want full digitalization. I brought this overview here. So we have on the lower part of the slide, the shop floor, so the physical world, the room, the building, the computers, the machines, metrology operators we have there. And then we have on the top, digital products, services, insights, understanding of the processes. So stuff we want to get out of the shop floor. And over the last years in our own factories, but also in factories of other companies, we introduced different IT systems that function as the base for this full digitalization. So we set up IoT platforms for connecting all of the different data points. We set up laboratory information systems to connect all of this with the lab data, with the offline testing, etc. We have building control systems, which we use to control the building and the energy flow for running the clean and dry rooms. We have manufacturing execution system in place for controlling the whole production line, planning and scheduling the production. We have several of other systems there, which I'm not going to explain that much in detail. If there's someone interested into how we set up this tech stack, I'm willing to do that. But instead of that, I brought a hands-on case here. So you can see here one of our overviews that we use for controlling our production. And this is something which is, especially in battery cell production, something where we realized over the time, this is nothing you can get off the shelf. So we're working together with Siemens, and even Siemens does not have the systems off the shelf. So we had, together with Siemens, do a lot of programming, extensions, etc., especially when it comes to traceability, to get our systems up and running. So in our manufacturing execution system, we start orders, IDs are created for our different products. So for each liter, meter, cell that we are producing, and our IoT platform then gets this ID, this call for production and sends this information that the IoT platform gets from our MES to our different machines. The question is answered, how much material is needed, which processes have to be run, and then the connection to our physical world happens, and we get indirectly into our machines the question, or the answer to the question, which parameters have to be run, which product has to be produced, and we have also the connection to the physical world. So we have the possibility to track every liter, every kilogram, every meter of material. We're able to trace it with the traceability system, and correlated with the process parameters we have in place. And this is one of the shortcuts that we take for increasing the process understanding and closing the gap to Asian vendors. So this is one approach of the solution, and I'm going to share my last 2 slides now. And the first slide would be our lessons learned. So how did we get there? How were we able to set up these digitalized factories? And there are 4 core things we identified. One is that from the beginning, it was very important to have a joint commitment. So only because our production facilities, our top management, all of them were behind the strategy to go full digitalization, only based on this, it was possible to roll it out. Second was that in the beginning, we needed to make a clear strategy on the question, what are things that we want to make, buy, and integrate those things. These were some strategic decisions we needed to make in the beginning, which were very relevant for the whole following course of the digitalization. Then another lessons learned is that the digital integration only can happen if all machine vendors, etc., also have this connectivity in place. So a lot of the machine vendors that collaborate with us, and from whom we got the machines, they had the challenge that we were having very high demands when it came to digitalization. So this is something to keep in mind if you want to digitize your factory as well. And last but not least, over the course of the time, we had the trade-off of standardized integration. So on the one hand, we want standardized integration as much as possible. On the other hand, it's very challenging or very time-consuming to standardize everything that is there. So this trade-off was one of the key learnings as well. And now I'm going to jump over to my call to action. So I explained to you why we digitize our factory, how we got there. And now I'm going to set a spotlight on what can we do with this full digitalization. And for this, I have this slide here. So what we are doing right now, and where it would be great to collaborate with interesting partners here in the call as well, would be that we are developing and testing IT/OT solutions. So for example, for one machine vendor, we tried out its IoT platform in a real battery cell production scenario to demonstrate that it's actually working. Also, we collaborate with partners that need battery production data to, for example, train their models or get some insights for their product. So data as a product is another thing that we're working on. Also, we collaborate with companies that want to train their AI models in real production environments, for example, predicting final capacity models that are trained on LIMS and MES data. Also, for a lot of machines that are being developed, we have this digitalization add-on where we develop the software parts and digitalization parts of these new machines that are being developed. Also, we are producing batteries, and we can, together with the actual physical batteries, we can hand over deep dive data packages to the companies that are buying batteries from us. And also we have some companies that collaborate with us to have customer-facing technology showcases. They use our environment, since it's possible to guide potential partners through our environment. They use our sites as technology showcase rooms, which is also possible. And then last call to action from my side are the hands-on digitalization integration training. We train data engineers, data scientists, etc., not in a theoretical environment, but in a real battery factory. And with this pitch, I'm coming to the end. And thank you very much for your attention. I'm looking forward for your questions or comments.
Yeah, sorry. And thank you for the insights, Jonathan. very interesting, and I'm looking forward also what the environment of the fab then will deliver, because then you really have extensive capabilities. I think we have one question, Max, from the audience. If there's none, or if there's one, I don't see a hand yet. Okay, then I will have one short question to you. If you would need to pick one optimization point that you can address through digitalization on saving costs in battery manufacturing, what would it be?
From my point of view, there are on every machine you have in battery cell production, you can optimize a lot. But the biggest leverage I see is optimizing the whole production chain. So not only focusing on one machine, one process, but by understanding how the different processes are correlated and how the process parameter from one process interact with the product quality from later processes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest leverage I can see when it comes to what can you do with digitalization.
Okay, so you're basically saying streamlining the whole production chain rather than having one stellar machine that is...
Yeah, because this is the thing that you can do only with a fine-grained digitalization.
Mm-hmm.
Just optimizing one single process is something which is also possible, but the more digitalization you have, the better you are in optimizing your whole process chain.
Okay.